Good morning, UKZN students and staff. Welcome to the Computer Science Tech Talk series hosted by the School of Mathematics, Statistics and Computer Science. As you all know by now, my name is Leena Rajpal and I'm the Public Relations Representative for the College of Agriculture, Engineering and Science. I want to thank you all for joining us today, and a big thank you to Contour for taking the time to come out today online and to present to our students. Before we can start, I would just like to mention a few house rules for the program. Firstly, the event is recorded. In terms of complying with the POPIA Act, kindly note that we'll use the information for publishing purposes. Should you not want your information to be published for the purposes stated above, kindly send your concerns to rajpal@ukzn.ac.za. During the course of the event, all attendees will be muted with their videos switched off. If you have any questions during the presentation, kindly post them in the chat box facility where there will be someone who will answer it. During the Q&A session, the presenter will give you a chance to ask your questions. Please raise your hand so that the tech person can allow to unmute yourself and pose your questions to the presenter. If by any chance attendees interfere with the presentations, we will note your details and remove you from the event. Finally, the recordings and the presentations will be posted on the CAES website. Without taking much more time, I would now like to hand over to Dr. Gwetu, the academic leader for the from the School of Math, Statistics and Computer Science, and the academic leader for the discipline of Computer Science. Thank you, Mandla.
Thank you so much, Leena. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet again another installment of the Computer Science Tech Talks held in conjunction with the College PR office. Today, we host an exciting partner of ours, a company called Contour, that is exciting in the sense that they are just on our doorstep. Exciting also because this is not the first time that we've hosted them. They're coming again. And to me, that shows that they are committed to the cause. And this is what computer science is all about. This is what UKZN is all about, not just exposing students to theoretical concepts, but engaging with industry, engaging with our community. And it's so exciting to have a partner like Contour, who's likewise interested in imparting knowledge, in giving opportunity to students. And they are here today for two main purposes. One is to share of knowledge. You know, they've got a wealth of knowledge from the practical experience that they have in the world of point of sale systems, you know, hardware interfacing and so forth and so on. So they'd like to share some of their knowledge with that. And in addition to that, they don't just want to educate you, but they would also like to support you. And they've got various initiatives that they would like to share with you today. So my encouragement to all students is this is a great opportunity. Please take your pens out. Please give your best attention. And today we've got a few prizes available for those of you that are going to be really at their best in terms of paying attention. So look out for those. At some point, you'll have questions posed to you. And like has been said before, you will raise your hands and we will give you an opportunity to see if you answer correctly, and you could be one of those people that get a lucky prize. The structure of our Tech Talk today is we are firstly going to hear from an expert from Contour, who's going to give us a talk that is hardware oriented, hardware and software oriented, and then we will hear about the opportunities that are available from Contour. We'll also hear about what Contour is all about in general, and then we will move on to the Q&A session. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Ben Meyer, who is the Technical Director of Contour Technology, who will be talking to us about a transistor computer-based digital controller with high performance input-output for motion control applications. Ben, it is a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for coming along. I would now like to hand over to you.
Wonderful. Can you all hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, Ben. Thank you.
Great. So that was actually my master's topic that you read there. I think the titles got mixed up. So that was 30 years ago. So I think we've moved on a little bit, and so we can do something even more exciting. And we're going to talk about edge computing, which is also a continuation of concurrent processing. So let me just share my screen. Sound. Okay. All right. So I think you can all see that. So welcome. And I'm going to introduce the exciting concept of edge computing. Now, development in the edge technology is starting to attract big business and offers massive opportunities to development houses and industry technologists, i.e. you guys. So edge computing is the most relevant technology to address today's needs for powerful and reliable computing systems. It delivers solutions that are real-time, scalable, and resilient with manageable costs as well. Edge servers and data centers can be easily moved and scaled as an enterprise needs change and grow, and this flexible topology permits the use of numerous environmental conditions, including load shedding, unpredictable green energy availability, cooling, and intermittent network connectivity, to name but a few of the exciting dimensions that are not catered for by traditional data centers. So there's been a progression in technology. We're all familiar with cloud computing. The term has become ubiquitous. We've become familiar with products such as Azure, cloud services from Amazon, IBM, and Alibaba, just to name a few. So cloud computing is a practice of using a network of remote servers hosted on the internet to store, manage, and process data in preference to using local services or computers. Here we have clients dumbed down and are entirely dependent on the cloud server to function. And then along came fog. Fog computing is a decentralized computing infrastructure in which data, compute, and storage resources and applications are located somewhere between the data source and the cloud. Similar to edge computing, fog computing brings the advantage of the power of the cloud closer to where the data is created and acted upon. It's not characterized by horizontal connectivity between the nodes. And we're familiar with, we've heard of IoT and big data. So the Internet of Things is, describes a network of physical objects or things that are embedded with sensors, software, and other technologies for the purpose of connecting and exchanging data with other devices and systems over the Internet. The Internet of Things is a network connection of people, processes, and data and things. The benefit is that it's derived from the compounded impact of connecting people, process, data, and things, and the value this increased connectedness creates in everything that comes online. So even dumber devices are now able to connect to data centers. And this daunting picture is an edge computing architecture. So we put this all together, we get everything except the kitchen sink. Well, not yet. So when you look at the definition of edge computing, the model shifts the resources from central data centers and clouds closer to the devices. And the goal is to support new applications with lower latency requirements, and while processing data more efficiently to save network costs. So an example use case is the Internet of Things, where billions of devices are deployed every single year, and they produce lots of data. And when data is processed at the edge instead of the cloud, the backhaul costs are reduced. The components of a system like this are IoT devices, typically sensors such as temperature, speed, location, electricity meters, and everything's becoming smart. Smart anything, refrigerators, smart watches, fire alarms, door locks, bicycles, medical sensors, fitness trackers we're familiar with, security systems. We might even be able to ask one day how much milk is left in the refrigerator, or how much coal do we have left before announcing load shedding. So edge gateways are the servers that connect the devices to the network, and the compute resources process the data and reduce the amount of traffic required over the network. And the communication fabric is the mesh of backhaul links to provide internet or private connectivity. It doesn't have to be just internet. It can include fiber, cellular, radio, and satellite devices. So what does the edge data center look like? Well, the idea is to have bare minimum amount of hardware on site in terms of computing resources. As the solution scales out, you have an increased number of servers, but what's important is also to watch the latency, because the idea is to reduce the amount of information that you are transmitting over the network. So latency can become a limit, and of course there's costs involved. So what's driving this? So there's a balance between LAN type of solutions and cloud type of solutions. And the point of the sweet spot depends on the nature of the application. So low latency is required. For example, we understand human interaction devices. Using an application, you press a button on your ATM, you expect it to work immediately. The latency is important. And machine-to-machine synchronization, for example, conveyor belt motors, if they're not synchronized, the conveyor belt has a bad day and it snaps. And so data can be factored to reduce bandwidth and time dependency. Now, when we look at the cloud side of the equation, cloud solutions favor transient and variable workloads. So you pay for what you use, and the data center is responsible for smoothing the resources, resource usage across all their customers and their DCs. Devices can be stripped to bare bones to reduce power consumption, size, and cost. Think of a smart watch. And now the location of the device becomes irrelevant. And data centers are pretty resilient with high uptimes until they go down for hours. So the sweet spot actually moves. Now I've got a little clip here from the industry explain some of the challenges.
We see that the application deployments are accelerating. We see a lot of applications being built, but what's interesting is, at least in the last 18 months of what's been happening with the pandemic, is we're seeing more and more of these applications being built and deployed at the edge. The applications are becoming next generation storefronts for retailers as they figure out how to do socially intermediated transactions in an omni-channel retail experience. They're becoming automated, industrialized IoT for automation, because manufacturers are trying to figure out how to do localized supply chains and not get compromised by global supply chain issues, and business processes in healthcare and in financials. All of that is changing, but driving application development at the edge. So the market is really kind of catching up, but there is no consistent way of solving this problem. You see that several players are coming together to solve for this, because as the last decade of innovation happened in the cloud, the next decade is expected to happen at the edge. There are a lot of players moving in, several technology sectors, data center, private cloud, trying to move workloads and modernize and migrate them to the edge. Hardware manufacturers building different types of form factors for the edge. Hyperscale partners of ours are trying to build their IaaS and SaaS service and migrate them to the edge. But that's not just from the IT landscape, but also because at the edge, you have a big footprint of providers already from a telecommunications perspective, as well as networking services. They're also moving in, providing a lot of points of presence with high speed, low latency, building out new technology. At the same time, delivering content and network services at the edge. All of this is almost like taking your cloud data center assets, networking assets, and moving towards the edge. At the same time, there's a big growth in operational technology, where the physical meets the digital. There's a lot of innovation on new types of physical devices that are being activated through industrialized IoT and all of that. So there's a lot going on at the edge, a lot of data being created, but at the same time, different players are trying to move into this from their own angle. Oh, I'll give you public cloud. No, let me give you a networking footprint. No, let me give you a OT technology. So it's kind of very disparate. And very early adopters, I've had 100+ conversations with our customers. They are struggling, as seems like the edge is quite different. I've observed the early movers are spending 3 to 4 months refactoring, replatforming applications that they've built in the public cloud to just make it work at the edge. And what we're realizing with a handful of bleeding edge customers, that applications they built just don't seem to scale, don't have the same model, don't have the same security, and they are struggling to kind of move those workloads effectively at the edge.
Okay, so where's the money? So what we can see here is actually the ratio of cloud to facility or edge investment is actually 2 to 1. So facility investment, especially this is now 2016 to 2020. So COVID has driven this quite a lot as well, where people had to work remotely. How did you make edge? How could you best address customers, like in the retail environment or anywhere people need to interact? So what we will see going forward is the cloud infrastructure, well, actually the cloud infrastructure platforms like Azure and IBM, what they're really doing here is they're the same people that are investing in the facilities quite often. So they're actually moving from cloud investment to facility investment. And here we have quite a busy slide. So it's quite interesting to see development purely in the Asian market, for example. So if you look at drones, for example, they're finding application in surveying, architecture, traffic management, and predictive failure. With video analytics, facial recognition is built into CCTV cameras and the digital video recorders. It's quite common now, with information being integrated across sensors to detect or predict behavior, for example, loitering or an impending medical condition. And it's a bone of contention with the Americans that the Chinese CCTV cameras have facial recognition built into them, because the computing is done inside the camera, and some information goes back to the OEM manufacturer, but you can't tell actually what it is. So it might be perceived as a risk. It depends on your view on life. And with digital twins, you use simulation techniques for predictive engineering analysis in the oil and gas industry. And you can see we've gone from learning mode to exploration. We've actually got to initial deployment of many things. So you can imagine in oil mining or anywhere there's environmental challenges, moving AI to the actual edge is quite advantageous. So let's have a look at a financial use case.
Edge computing has the capacity to disrupt a whole host of different industries, including financial services. In particular, retail banks can benefit from edge computing, for example, to help with improving customer service, reducing costs, and ensuring compliance. So we're going to explore 5 different use cases in this video. So the first way that edge computing can benefit the financial services industry is to offer hyper-personalization when it comes to customer engagement. So customer engagement by banks has historically been quite inefficient, and it's usually limited to static advertisements in retail banks, and these tend not to be tailored by the types of customers viewing the adverts. Now, banks can look to leverage the flexibility of cloud and the benefits of local compute to run more real-time applications to better engage their customers. So edge computing can do this by providing more personalised customer engagement right down to the individual. For example, HSBC has deployed SoftBank's Pepper robot in some US branches, and Pepper uses natural language processing to interpret customer information requests. This requires real-time ultra-low latency analysis of very large data quantities, which Edge can help provide. The next one is around analytics for real-time cybersecurity. So running AI analytics at the edge can help banks to detect and prevent fraud more proactively. Usually, this occurs after fraudulent activity has taken place, but with real-time analytics, this can catch perpetrators in the act and save money for banks instead of having to revert to compensation, which can be quite costly. So edge computing can deliver very low latency analytics while guaranteeing data sovereignty and security, which is crucial within such a regulated industry. The third use case is real-time facial recognition for fraud detection and prevention. So edge computing can also help to protect customers against issues that can happen during in-person transactions and not just online. So for example, you could augment ATM's CCTV by adding facial recognition software that can detect potential fraud and send alerts in real time. And banks could also use an on-premise edge solution for this to filter data for data security purposes. The fourth use case is around high-frequency algorithmic trading. So high frequency trading often uses servers that are in the same building as the exchange floor to minimize the latency between trades. Although having servers within relevant exchanges can help with low latency, a lot of the time, these high frequency trading requires communication with other exchanges to take advantage of the disparities in price between assets from the same exchanges. Edge computing can add value by reducing this last mile latency by processing the data locally and allowing for faster data distribution. This is especially useful for HFT firms trading currency because this is completely decentralized compared to something like equities. And sharing information at high speeds is a key benefit that edge computing can bring to these scenarios. The last use case is around data sovereignty for compliance. So financial services is one of the most highly regulated industries, and this has only increased in recent years. So banks have a lot of sensitive information on customers. So while cloud computing allows opportunities for large-scale analysis of datasets, it also means sensitive data has to travel across borders. And this makes it very open to potential breaches. And also sending large amounts of data can also increase backhaul costs for banks. But edge computing can help to solve both of these issues. So it can enable processing of sensitive data within national borders, and it can also reduce the amount of data that's sent to the cloud.
Right, so what do commercial edge providers offer? Here's an advertisement from one provider. So it provides convenient connectivity between devices, locations, and the cloud. Someone else takes care of your communication fabric, and there may even be a wrapper for your existing applications. An advert from Azure shows they are leveraging their existing cloud offering. Of course, all your eggs now become in one basket. Let's hear from an industry expert about some of the challenges that they've recognized.
What we've seen, first of all, is what drives the deployments for our customers. It's actually bandwidth. It is the fact that data is generated or collected on-prem in these distributed environments. And as the customers adopt cloud computing, they're trying to figure out how to get the insights of that data connected back to their cloud infrastructure. That's typically the starting point of the conversation. And what is interesting about these verticals is a lot of these applications already exist there to generate this data. Think about SCADA applications in a factory floor. Today, they're controlling process. They're already storing a lot of data on some local drive. How do I analyze that data? How do I take that data and get it back to my broader data lake and my broader data strategy? An example in retail, video surveillance. Today, there's a lot of video being stored already in every retail store, but it's used there probably to, go back and see if an incident happened or something else. But how can I turn that video data to make, change my engagement model with my customers and improve, et cetera. So that's usually where it starts with is I got data, it's either there or I want to start collecting it. I can't get it to the cloud. And how do I then move the data analytics and processing that I had in mind to run in the cloud and move and push that all the way to the edge? That's sort of the starting point. Now, when you do that, there's sort of three things that we typically see from our point of view. First of all, is the diversity of these applications, right? Video. We talked about video surveillance, SCADA application. We have customers that have specific data processing for well sites and oil and gas. You go to automotive, you're trying to update software in cars, you have different software to do that in like a garage or dealer. So all of these are very different applications. Some of them are not even containerized yet. They are still running on Windows and sometimes very old versions of Windows as well, right? So that's sort of one very common thing we see. The second problem we see is security, where when you start putting little tiny servers who don't even often look like servers, but more like rugged, industrial PCs or gateways in these distributed environments, well, you have a whole new array of problems coming from cybersecurity point of view. You may be deploying in your customers' networks or your suppliers' networks or your partners' networks where you don't know if their network is secure. You don't know if the network is something you can trust. But also you don't even know physically you can trust the location, right? Somebody could steal that node, take it with them and try to reverse engineer the data on the drives and from there figure out, proprietary information and further, exploit an attack. So you have to think about both the physical as well as the network security. And you have to kind of think from zero trust ground up with things like how to root of trust, attestation, measure, secure boot, etc. And then last but not least is just the scale. And any of these customers, they were not a telco, but they almost become like a telco when you deploy 10,000 of these nodes in 10,000 different distributed environments. you now have to think about automation and scalability and the ability to update and monitor and remediate problems at very large scale. So these are typically the three large things that we see our customers run into, and sort of what we saw a driver for an orchestration architecture at the edge.
Right, so here's a simplified diagram of an edge solution. So what kind of questions I need to ask when developing an edge solution? For example, what resilience does my solution require? We can ask, how long are banking customers happy to wait for an ATM to come back online? Of course, we know they're not going to wait at all. And can the system fail gracefully? For example, can an ATM give cash even if the facial recognition platform is unavailable? And how do I manage withdrawal risk if the branch server is offline and customer accounts can be balanced across systems? Then there's a warning to read the fine print. So here's a little extract from the fine print of Azure and one of their products. The fine print says international availability may change from time to time due to changes in trade regulations. Of course, what they're really saying there is sanctions. Basically, they can take away your right to use the system anytime. And of course, loss of services out of your control and unexpected. And depending on the application, you can't deal with that. So here's a chap living on the serious edge. He's on the edge of the moon. How does he come home? Well, this is always a cool picture. There he is, going back to his orbiter capsule, leaving the cameraman behind. Now, serious design effort went into the launch motor. This is a product that was offered by the lowest tenderer. So in here, there was double redundancy of everything. All it took was a two-part chemical mixture to be mixed together to fire the rocket motor. So redundancy in this application is paramount. And we can start getting deeper into failure modes, for example, a series system or parallel system or some combination of them. This is where the actual meat comes in, which if anybody wants to go further, we would talk about this kind of stuff, because we need to know in a growing scalable system, how do we deal with performance and risk? Okay, thank you. Shall we? I was asked to ask a question. I don't know if that's if I should do that now.
Yes, that's a great idea, Ben. I think one question would do now. Yeah.
Super. So can we think about what strategies we can consider when building a system which guarantees transaction completion times? So for example, in two-factor authentication, an OTP has an expiry time and a transaction cannot occur before the OTP is submitted. But in a retail environment, the customer is standing in a queue. He purchases a voucher to be used on an offline device, say an electricity meter, so that voucher can't be cancelled. Now, if the point of sale machine makes a sale request, but the voucher is not printed quickly enough, the customer simply walks away. You're not going to pay for a service that you don't get. So the question is, what can we do to ensure that a valid voucher is only delivered timeously? Okay.
There's a question for everyone. Now, if you were listening to the main message, the main technology that is being promoted today, you should know the answer to that. Now, have a look at the list of participants. If you are brave enough, if you are confident enough, please raise your hand and the first lucky prize could be yours. If you didn't hear the question, please feel free to ask for clarity. We have a taker, Sakiseni. Any other taker? Just in case he gets it wrong. I saw a hand go up. Right. Okay, we'll pause there. So I believe Lutando was second and then Tando Gwetu was third. So first we will go to Sakiseni.
All right, I think the solution is to introduce edge computing.
Over to you, Ben, for the verdict.
Okay, it's actually quite a complex question because there's a system design. So edge computing certainly does reduce the latency, but it's the workflow that I'm actually asking about. Is there a way that you can deal with the workflow in order to satisfy the business requirement? So maybe you can flesh that out.
Okay, we're giving you another chance, Sakiseni. Do you want to elaborate before we try Lutando? Okay, someone is asking for the question to be repeated. I'll just say we aren't going to allow you to type your answers on the chat box. We want to hear them audibly. So Ben, just a request there to hear the question again.
Okay, so the question is, what strategies can we consider when building a system which guarantees transaction completion times? In other words, from the time a sensor or some device requests a transaction, it goes through multiple layers to the cloud compute, and then it comes back. And we want to think about methods to improve or guarantee the performance. So if we say in our sales, it's going to take 5 seconds or less, what kind of methods can we use to try and guarantee?
Okay, I believe we're only left with Tandulwetu. Tandulwetu, do you want to go for it?
Sorry, I missed that.
Still there? Hi, Tandulwetu, you can go for it.
I'm thinking we're using transactional analytics to try and calculate to make the transaction as fast as possible.
Okay, I like it. You're getting closer. We're getting closer. Not a coconut yet, but we're getting there.
Okay, Lutando, do you want to go for it again?
No, so the first time I was just asking to repeat the question, but one way is to first, reduce the latency as quick as possible. I think by allowing the point of sale machine to do some level of processing to say that if this transaction is not done in 5 seconds, or we cancel it completely, or we don't send it to the cloud, there's no point in sending a transaction back to the cloud if it's not done. I think that's one way of doing it.
Okay.
I think you're closer to the answer, because really what you want to do is not to give the transaction to the customer. So if the edge device, the point of sale, doesn't get a response from the server timelessly, then it just doesn't print it out, and it tells the cloud, I couldn't perform, and it can even trickle that out. So I think I like your answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben, and well done, Lutando. You can confirm that the first prize is going to be yours. Tandulwetu, well done for the attempt. There's more other chances coming up your way. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank Ben for his presentation. You're probably going to hear from him again in the Q&A section. Right now, we'd like to hear more about Contour and the recruitment initiatives that they have. Jillian, it's a pleasure to have you back. The floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Dr. Gwetu. Let me just share my screen here. Okay, good afternoon, students, and thanks so much for taking the time to come to attend this presentation today. I just wanted to give you a bit of a background onto Contour, what we do, where we are, and then also just chat a little bit about opportunities that we have, as well as from an HR perspective, what industry is looking for, and maybe a few words of wisdom. We interview lots of students, often find they have some ideas that maybe, you need to just reassess. So who we are, Contour is a 25-year-old fintech company. We're very proud of the fact that we turned 25 last month, and we had a big function. And for a Durban small tech or dev house to have lasted 25 years, I think is an achievement in itself. We were established in 1997, and as the doctor said, we are based in Westville. We're near to Westville Boys High, so we're right on your doorstep, and close and convenient. So what do? We're a leading supplier of online vending services nationally. Most of you, if you have gone and checked out our website, probably still don't know what we do, even though you read that. Basically, what we do is we allow the generation of tokens for prepaid services. So it can be prepaid water, prepaid electricity. Most recently, we've gone into airtime and data, and we also can do basically anything that is prepaid. We generate in excess of 6 million transactions a year with a rand value in excess of R1 billion on our transactions. We're contracted with more than 35 municipalities around the country to assist them with their prepaid services, so their electricity and water tokens, as well as also helping them with arrears collections. We partner some of our partners, so we partner up with Eskom nationally, so we sell tokens for Eskom electricity nationally when they aren't having load shedding. Unfortunately, we can't control that, but we do assist with the tokens. We link directly into the 5 major banks. So Absa, Capitec, FNB, Nedbank, and Standard Bank, where you could purchase directly from your banking apps. And we also, particularly at the moment with Nedbank, if you press buy electricity on their banking platform, you would get a token probably generated by us. We also link directly into the back end vending system for your Checkers ShopRite group, as well as the Boxer Pick and Pay group, and more recently Spar. So you're standing in the queue at a Pick and Pay or Checkers, and somebody purchases a token, or you purchase one yourself for your electricity. Our back-end infrastructure is what helps to generate that token. We also link into Vodacom and MTN. So we do data and airtime tokens for those through our little handheld. We've got a little Android-based point of sale, which we supply out into small vendors. So it can be from tuck shops, right through to some of the spas have been using it, where people can purchase their airtime and data as well as their tokens using our little Android point of sale. In terms of tech that we use, we're a Microsoft house. You can see the languages that we use. Our products are obviously heavily fintech. I'm not going to pretend that I understand all of this tech. I leave that up to you guys and to the smart guys that we have in our tech department. What I would like to say, though, is that we have a very hands-on approach. We're small. We have in the region of 37 employees in total across all departments. But what happens is when we have a really major project, everybody gets involved, right through from the MD through to operations, business development, our solutions architects. Everybody gets involved with the devs. They have daily meetings to make sure that we get a project out. And I think that's something that you would find is quite different from most of our competitors. It's not often that you're going to sit and discuss tech and dev and projects with the MD. But it is something that happens with us. And because we're small, you have that exposure. The environment, as I said, it is quite close-knit, access to various management across all levels. We're small, pretty much open door policy, and the MD is available. He's just a normal person. We don't have a strict hierarchy. When people join us, we bring them on initially with a 2-month orientation, where our software development team lead goes through our best practice, our coding patterns, goes through and explains our system, because it is obviously quite intricate. We deal with a lot of things in terms of risk, and it's a real-time transaction. So we have to make sure that you understand the system, and you only get exposed to little bits at a time, so that you get exposed to the big picture by the end. You would get full stack exposure. Once again, because of our size, it gives us the ability to expose you to a lot more things. So it's not a case of you just do testing on one product and that's all you ever see, or one component of a product. You would get to see a product from the specifications document through to go live, which is something which is quite unique, I think, in Durban. We may not have NAP pods, but we do at least give you exposure to a lot of things. Our dev team has daily stand-ups. They work on 2-week sprint cycles, so they get given manageable, reasonable tasks and deliverables that they have to achieve at the end of those 2 weeks. And like I said, it is very collaborative. So you do find a lot of interdepartmental collaboration. And the team is also, we're sitting in our pure dev team with about 9 staff. So there are little teams that develop with all of our projects, and they work together to get the best outcome. It's also a lot of brainstorming, lots of writing on whiteboards, it's quite a nice environment. We don't have, I know when I interview people, everybody complains about your final year project and the team and one person letting you down. It seems to be a common theme. We don't seem to have that here. It's more discussion and listening to everybody's opinion to get the best outcome for the organization. So what are we looking for? We are looking for bright, eager students or graduates to join our team who are passionate about dev, database management, or engineering. We don't purely want software developers. If you are a computer science student, that's great. We don't only take computer science students. I think it puts you in a very good position if you are a computer science graduate. Just noting from the CVs that I receive, they are in high demand and short supply in Durban. I think some of our competitors grab up all the good UKZN students, or otherwise they all disappear to Cape Town or Johannesburg. So you are in demand. So firstly, congratulations on your choice of UKZN and your qualification, because it sets you in good stead. What we are able to offer is we're looking at students for VAC work. I know you all have to do compulsory hours. We can help with VAC work. We also look at financial assistance. This year we took on one honors student who we've paid for his studies for the year. And next year we want to get involved even more and see who we can assist in furthering their studies. We are currently in the process of moving back to our refurbished building. And once we get back to our building, we're hoping to be able to take on more students for graduate programs once we've got a bigger workspace. In 2017, we were lucky enough to bring 4 students in from UKZN Howard campus. We found them during their open day, and we brought them in for a VAC grad program where we gave them a task of designing and developing their own smart electricity meter that included a mobile app. And that's what they worked on. We gave them all the resources, we put them in a room, we gave them whatever they needed to build their project. And at the end of the 2 months, they were able to switch on a light using a little circuit, using their app. They were able to determine the amount of electricity that was being used by a particular lamp in a house, in a mock house. So they were able to come up with a proof of concept after 2 months, which was great. And we want to be able to do more of that once we move back to our refurbished building. So if that's something that might interest you, that would obviously be great. So what do we look for? I think the biggest thing, and this is where it comes to the life lessons part, the biggest thing that we're always looking for is attitude. And I can't say it enough, and I can't stress it enough. Your attitude is what is going to set you apart. I can train you any skill. Where you're lacking, I can train you. But if you have the wrong attitude, I can't teach you that. So for us, attitude is the most important thing. What we look for at Contour is people who want to make a difference. Like I said, you're sitting in the queue, you're watching a token being generated for somebody for electricity. That token's going to go home to somebody's home. They're going to put it into their meter and they're going to have lights. That lights could be the difference between a baby getting a warm bottle tonight or not. A child being able to study using a light and not having to use a candle. We are making a difference. Like Ben said earlier about the fact that people not getting a token. If our system goes down, people don't get their tokens. If they don't get their tokens, they run out of electricity. And we get them phoning in and they're complaining about, I can't warm my baby's bottle. I've got somebody on a ventilator. Our best one was, I work in a mortuary and our electricity is running out and the bodies are going to start defrosting. It was just quite an interesting one, but we make a difference. So we're looking for people who want to make a difference. People who want to be lifelong learners. You're going to graduate, and I'm not sure what years of study you guys are all in, but you're going to graduate and you're going to leave university and you're going to have this lovely piece of paper and you're going to think that you're now ready to take on the world. And my advice to you is understand that when you leave university with your piece of paper, it's like having a driver's license. You only actually learn to drive once you start driving yourself. And it's not about just having the paper. Understand that when you come into a work environment, you probably don't really know a lot. And I think the most important part is understanding that you don't know things and you haven't even worked out what you don't know yet. So when you start in the work environment, that's when you're actually going to start learning, and make it a priority that every day you're going to learn something different. Read a book, learn something, watch a video, learn by watching what's going on around you, learn by listening to what's going on around you. And I think within the modern work context, you find a lot of people sit with their headphones in Probably half of you have got headphones in right now. People put their headphones in and it isolates you from the rest of the world. So you're actually not, yes, it's great because it helps you to focus, but at the same time, you're not going to be learning from your environments and learning from the people around you in terms of projects. There's going to be things that you miss. There's things that you're going to pick up on if you're actually just listening to what's going on around you. And make yourself a lifelong learner. You should never, ever stop learning or never, ever think that you know everything. We're looking for team players, people who, when a project is getting to a deadline, are prepared to put in the effort. It's not a case of, oh no, I have to go now because I have to walk the dog, or I'm tired, I need to go and have a brain rest because I can't cope. It's about when the chips are down, rolling up your sleeves and getting involved, and being a team player. Because the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. The more initiative and the more interest that you show, the more interest the company is going to show in you, and they're going to give you more information. They're going to develop you. They're going to help you. So I think that's also really important. Another big thing for me is within this industry, you find when I interview people, I always say, so why do you want to leave where you're currently employed? And a lot of them, most of them will say for growth. I want to move for growth. I want to move because I feel I've reached a plateau. And you look at the person and the person's worked in a place for 2 years. It seems to be this fear within computer science developers, to use that as a term. There's a fear within developers that if you've been somewhere for more than 2 years, you stagnate and you lose touch with industry and need to move on for career development. Just be careful of that. Yes, it's great to develop, but understand that with most organizations, when we take you on, we look at a 2-year plan. You're only actually effective at the end of 2 years. You've only learned what the organization is about after 2 years. By then that's when you're getting to the point where you're actually useful to the organization and you're now starting to peak. If you leave at that 2-year mark, you're going to start again at the bottom. And then it's that rapid, you're going to have to do that whole learning curve again of another 2 years. I was talking to a recruiter the other day and he said he's now seeing people that are now into their 3rd set of 2 years. And when you go back and you look, well, what skills have they learned? They actually haven't, because they're just going back to starting an orientation all over again. So my advice to you is, yes, by all means, your generation will have more jobs than any other in history, but don't believe that you have to jump after 2 years, because otherwise you're going to stagnate. Look at what you can learn, because there's always more to learn in any organization. And that, I just think it's quite something that a lot of you, when you're anticipating going out to work, you're going to have this idea and you're going to see all your friends are jumping after 2 years. I would just caution you against it and rather look at how you can grow and develop yourself where you are at that time. I think it's also important to remember to give back more than you take. It's all about what you put into it is what you're going to get out. And people will notice. If you just do the bare minimum for your salary, it will be noticed. If you're prepared to go above and beyond, then you're going to start creating a career and it won't just be a job. And that's when people start to notice, and that's when you're going to really start to excel in your chosen field. Also understand your worth when you go out for your first job. I think it's important that you don't undervalue yourself, but at the same time, like I said earlier, understand that you don't even know what you don't know yet. So go in there with a realistic expectation, not just because, oh, well, all my friends who are going to Vodacom in Joburg are all earning 25,000 Rand as a grad. Understand what they're going to be doing and what the future is going to be for them. And also understand what your value structure is and where you want to stay. If staying in Durban is important to you, then that's great. If traveling is important to you, that's also great. But set your objectives beforehand, understand your worth, and also don't sit there and say, well, I'm not prepared to budge. This is how much I'm worth. This is the salary I want. Okay. So that was a lot of, hopefully not lecturing. I hate to think of it as lecturing, but I just think that a lot of young people coming out, you go to your first job and you actually don't know what to expect. I think university prepares you for a piece of paper, but they don't necessarily prepare you for what's going to happen in an interview and what's going to happen in industry. So I hope that helped somebody.
Well, thank you so much, Jillian.
I have put my contact details on here. So if anybody is looking at, like I said earlier, work experience, VAC work, graduates, if you're looking for financial assistance, Obviously, we can't help everybody, but we would like to be able to help some people. So I've got put my email address there. You just drop me a motivation letter, a bit of a CV. I know probably you don't have much of a CV, but your contact details, a bit about yourself, and copy the transcripts, and that's great. Let's see how we can help you.
Wow, this is amazing, guys. To those of you that are here, I'm sure you're feeling very, very proud that you came. This is a huge opportunity, everyone. Some gems that I picked up, they're already assisting one of our students and they're looking to do more. And a big one for most of you, they're offering VAC work. That's an inquiry that I get a lot from students. What can we do over the holidays? Here's a company in KZN saying, here we are, reach out to us. We can keep you occupied and give you the skills that you need. They're a company that is making a difference and highly recommendable. So if you've got questions, please do feel free to pose them and interact with our guests. Thank you so much, Jillian, for all that you're doing. Thank you for your talk. I love the emphasis on attitude. That is so important, and we would hope that our students would come and join you and live up to those good expectations that you have. I believe there's a question that came through, Jillian, from one of our students that is inquiring about back work. They're just asking, just in terms of some of the criteria you would perhaps focus on when you are screening.
I think in terms of back work, let us know what you need and we can see if we can accommodate you. We don't believe in bringing people in for back work and making you sit and type out on a Word document, because that's not going to help you. I know that we've had some students before and they said, oh, when they went and did back work, they were told to update information, do some data capturing, type out documents. That's not what we want you to do. We want to be able to add value. So send me a little motivation, tell me what your area of interest is, and let's see how we can help you to actually add some value to what you're doing as your back work. Awesome. We promise we won't make you just sit and type documents.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, guys, we've got 2 more prizes to give away. I'd like you guys to talk a lot more, show yourselves, market yourself. And to help you with that, there's 2 prizes available. The first one is going to test how well you were listening. And then I think the second one, we're just going to give to the person that's going to be confident and give the most interesting question. And how interesting it is, we'll leave that to our guests to actually to decide. So Ben, if you've got any other questions, feel free to come in. I've got a few that I jotted down myself, but I think the floor is yours for today.
Super. So I did give a hint of an answer to this question, but we can expand on it. So my question is, today we see supply chains are stretched and they're being weaponized by trade wars. So the question is, what risks can we identify when designing a cloud system or an edge system?
Great. I think if we can come again, Ben, we've got supply chains and we've got risks that are associated. If you could just give them another chance just to hear the question again.
Okay, so what risks can we identify when designing a cloud system?
Okay, so this is not edge, everyone. This is cloud. Okay, any takers? Thando Gwetu, well done. I see you're not giving up. I like that. Any other takers? Any other takers? Okay, let's hear it from Thando Gwetu. Okay, we've got a second taker. Let's see who that. Lutando once again. I think you guys are marketing yourselves very well. I'm proud of you. Okay, let's go for Thando Gwetu.
The risk I think we could try to account for would be political relations between different nations itself, and trade. So how risky certain trade routes are in terms of the global trade in itself. In case of in situation of sanctions, we must be aware of how certain sanctions would affect our aid system. Should they, let's say, for example, if the United States apply sanctions to China, how would our aid system be able to compensate for that specific weakness, and how that specific weakness in the trade system? Thank you.
Thanks so much, Thando Gwetu. Ben, do you want to hear another one? Are you happy with that?
Yeah, let's hear some more people.
Okay, let's hear from Lutando once again. Lutando, do you want to go for it? Okay, maybe he's dropped out. Shall we give Spesihle an opportunity?
The question was, which risks can we face with cloud computing, right?
Yes. In a particular context. Ben, can you remind us in terms of the exact context of cloud computing?
Sure. So the challenge is supply chains are being stretched and they're also being weaponized by trade wars. And that creates a risk.
Great. So the context is supply chains. Go for it, Spesihle.
I would say probably a risk that we could face would pertain to the data loss. We would pertain to the data loss, because in any event, like in supply chain, when there are trade wars, data is the most important thing. So even though I could understand that my answer isn't specific to that, but I still feel like it also does apply to the context, because without the data, no actions can be taken by the company itself.
Awesome. Well done, Spesihle.
Perfect.
That's an awesome answer. I agree as well. Congratulations, Spesihle. And well done once again to Thandolwethu. I thought your answer was good. It's just Spesihle was perhaps an edge stronger there. Okay. Thank you so much, Ben, for that awesome question. Now we want to see who's got an interesting question to ask. We've got one more prize that is available for takes. So to our PR office, I hope you got that. The second prize went to Spesihle, I think Jamile. Okay, any interesting questions that you have, we'll take 2 or 3, and these better be well thought out. Ideally, one that will challenge our guests. You know, you can come from a technical side, you can come from a recruitment perspective. We want to hear your questions. Okay, any takers? Yes, Spesihle once again wants to go for it. Okay, let's give you an opportunity, Spesihle. And after you, we'll go with Spunkosi and then one more. Who wants to be the third and last person to get an opportunity to ask a question? Okay, we have our third person, that is Thandolwethu. Okay, well done. We'll start with Spesihle. Please ask your questions. So I'll let all 3 of you ask your questions. And then,
my question is going to focus more on undergrad or postgrad students, specifically in the computer science and IT departments, who are trying to apply for jobs. You know, I've had this issue where my marks are good, but it's kind of difficult to study and learn for perhaps an interview or so. And there are many different tech stacks which are available, like MERN and MEAN, or maybe some companies want to focus on web dev, so you also take the ASP.NET or MVC Core Cloud computing or whatnot. So my question is, besides learning data structures and advanced algorithms, what can a computer science and IT wouldn't do to perhaps better prepare for themselves to be able to ace a technical interview that they might have with a company, since most of the interviews are sometimes the same, similar, or different, because we all come from backgrounds, and some students already know advanced algorithms, and they have a better chance to get into jobs compared to those with very good marks but aren't fully equipped in tech stacks yet.
Okay, I want to jump in on this one if that's okay.
You
And Ben's like,
yes.
yes, please. Just from an HR perspective, specifically, maybe we do things a little bit differently, but our biggest focus, I think most people that come for an interview with myself and Rian will walk away telling you that they think we're actually quite nice people. So for us, we try not to interrogate and grill people because it doesn't get the best out of you. So if we're doing an interview, it's primarily based on, like I said earlier, I can train you skill. It's your attitude. So I would prefer to get to know you as a person. And then Rian asks technical questions, which can be kind of quite textbookish, but also very generalized. So for us, there would be some C# questions, some SQL questions, relevant tech for us. But it's more about the person that you are and the attitude and just your personality that comes through and whether you're going to fit in our organization. For me, that's more important, that you're going to fit in my organization rather than the fact that maybe you don't have exposure to some interesting tech. For me, it's about, are you going to fit in here, and are you going to be able to get along with the team, and also what is your attitude like? Are you going to be prepared to put in the effort to upskill yourself where there are any deficiencies? And I'd just like to put it out there as well, Dr. Gwetu, if there are any students and you just want some advice on interviews and going to interviews and business as well, we're quite happy for you to send us an email, come and have a cup of coffee, let's have a chat. We give you a mock interview, we see how it goes, and maybe give you some advice and some pointers.
Wow, sounds like an awesome company already. Thank you so much, Jillian. And let's hear from Mandlenkosi. Well done, specifically, by the way. That's a good question. Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Go for it.
Hi. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Go for it, my man.
Okay, sorry for that. So thank you very much for presenting. And the question that I would like to ask, mainly that, as I've already heard, that the company seems like it's operating on the cloud already, and I know that there are a lot of clouds that are currently available. We have Azure, we have Microsoft AWS, not Microsoft, Amazon AWS. So my question in this particular case, which cloud platform are they using? Are they using AWS or Amazon, and why that particular cloud? I know there are a lot of things that they tend to check before they commit in that particular cloud. So maybe if they could answer that one, and why, I know that there's already a Microsoft, there's already AWS that is found in Cape Town and everything like that, but mainly for this particular company, why they chose that particular company they are utilizing for their resources as such. Thank you.
Great, well done, Sbu. So there we got a technical one there, Ben. For the places where you do use cloud, who's your preferred service provider and why?
Okay, so I'm going to give you an unexpected answer, because in our business, we're becoming a fintech company. So we do transaction switching for municipalities, and it's a real-time business. You buy prepaid electricity, it has to work. Can't be delays, can't be any issues, can't be any risks. It has to be completely reliable. So we're hosting our own equipment in MTN business facilities, actually in their own data center, where they deal with their it's a carrier grade data center where all the cell phone connections go to. So there's different grades of data center, and that's like the highest grade. So we've managed to put our own equipment in there, and we manage that because of the reliability. We do use Azure because it sounded like such a great idea, because we're basically a Microsoft house, so that made perfect sense. But the costs are crazy. Okay, so yes, you do get, in particular industries, you can spin up if you're using a transient demand, marketing campaigns, that kind of stuff, then the cloud makes sense. And Azure is great because basically they've just made it easy to continue your Microsoft deployment there. But the costs are crazy, and like we said, we have to deliver service. We have strict service level agreements with the municipalities, with the government. And there are risks. You've seen sometimes, I think a year or two ago, the data center in America, I think Salt Lake City got hit by lightning and they were down for the whole day. And it's like, that just doesn't fly in our business. So we have redundancy and we manage that end to end. So we understand the servers, how they work, what runs on them, the networks between them, the encryption. So we're an end to end. So ComSA, okay, so for me, what matters is your life skills. So I don't see a work as being, well, I'm going to just do this, this, and this. And Jillian kind of alluded to that. In actual fact, at my first job, my job description was, well, here at this factory, we make electricity meters. We need a point of sale, otherwise we can't sell the meters. You go and make that point of sale machine, it better work. And that's it. So basically, they gave me the run of the entire factory to make a product that suited their business requirement. And that was fantastic. And I think sometimes we can be very concerned about a particular technology. Yeah, it's a technology for now. We've seen in the presentation, well, cloud's important, but the money's really going into the edge. It's like the cloud providers have realized they need to de-cloud certain portions, and we've just got there ahead because of our business requirements. So I think we'll always have some need for the cloud and different kinds of cloud, but the resilience of the system is important to us. So I wouldn't fixate on which particular cloud that we have, because my job is to basically pull things out of the cloud and more into the edge for what we need. So it's a very interesting challenge. And I think we actually we can take master students on, PhD students on, because they're really interesting subjects and topics we need to look at. So for me, what I'm looking for in a student is your CPU. Can you think critically? And those of you that were here on Tuesday at the prize giving, I said to the professor that I commended him on critical thinking skill, because ComSA is one of those degrees in which critical thinking skill is important. So I need to know that you can apply critical thinking to things, and the solutions that are deployed today are really things that were thought about 5 and 10 years ago. So what you'll be doing here is working on stuff that's really going to get deployed in 5 and 10 years time. So you actually are riding on the edge of a wave, basically, not a cloud, on a wave. So if you're prepared to think out of the box, think logically, and collaborate in a team of similarly minded, intelligent people, but coming from different aspects, finance, legal, and networking, and all those kind of things. So it's like, really, what we can offer you is a facility. So don't think in terms of a job, and I need to be able to, we've moved on from writing if, then, else. It's really more than that. It's really about the critical thinking. And there's no limit to what we can actually do. But we need a trustworthy team that basically wants to put their shoulder to the grindstone.
Awesome insights there. Thank you so much, Ben. So I hope you got that, Swu, moving away from the cloud, because the cloud is quite expensive, and also because they want better control over their critical operations. Lastly, we'll hear from Gwetu. What's your question?
Yes, my question was that you've already explained the current state of Edge. What is the next stage for Edge in terms of technology? And what do we need as computer science students need to look out for in terms of future technology that we need to understand and that we need to in the future that will contribute towards furthering Edge's profitability? Thank you.
Okay, another technical one there, Ben. I'm not sure if you got that.
Superb question.
Right.
So Edge is a concept. It's evolving. Like we said, cloud. We've moved on to Edge now, and probably for the next 10 or 20 years, if you understand the components of Edge systems, you'll eat like a king, right? Because you basically are going to be in high demand, more demand than with the traditional technologies. So I think the next stage is we need to actually understand. There's so many components in Edge, and I think that's the wonderful thing about it. Perhaps something that's not really too obvious to computer science students, perhaps more to engineering. Like everything has become an IoT device, smartwatches, electricity meters, whatever, all battery powered things. So low power design and micro powering products is super critical, and that most manufacturers are actually quite behind on that kind of stuff. But in terms of getting community, so So what can a ComSA person take away from this? Well, you need to understand connectivity between devices, low power devices, multi-path protocols, for example. So you're not going to go and put a big XML protocol, for example, onto a smartwatch. You need to actually be able to shrink the information that you're sending. So communication, networking, and I think efficient product development as well. I think one of the speakers said there's a big challenge when you're deploying billions of devices, right? But the big challenge is now suddenly, how do you update those things? Software update to billions of devices. You'd have seen two years ago, so there was a big DDoS attack because some simple embedded device in some appliances basically passed it on some I think it was some sort of DNS attack they had in that particular case. There's an awful lot of stuff that revolves around security and communication that I think is very interesting and very relevant, and it's going to become more relevant as well, because we think something is just a watch or something. We think, well, what damage can it really do? But really, when you've got a billion of these things and they're busy attacking your network, then how do you even stop that? So there's an awful lot of stuff that we need to understand, and maybe it seems boring. Maybe it's a boring module somewhere about communication and connectivity and that kind of stuff. It's actually becoming critical. How do you get all of these devices to talk to each other? But you'll certainly never run out of any topics that are applicable to Edge.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your insights once again. I hope you sorted Gwetu. Lots of gems coming through there. Integration is a big one. Security is a big one. So there's lots of scope in terms of the actual next big thing. We've come to the end, and we must now pick the best question. And that decision I'll leave to Ben and Jillian. We had 3 questions coming up. Perhaps you might not recall the exact names, but I'll remind you of the questions. The first question came from Spesihle, who asked about tips for students in terms of preparation for the job market, given the various backgrounds that are there. Next, we got a question from Mandlenkosi, who asked about the preferred cloud provider. Then lastly, we got a question from Gwetu, who was asking about the next big thing in terms of edge computing. So, Ben and Jillian, I request for your number 1 and your number 2, and hopefully with those 2, we will be able to get a clear winner. Ben, do you want to go first?
Well, I think Spesihle is important to us because he's asking the most pertinent question at the beginning of his career, and I think that's where most people can go wrong, because they don't have, their expectations are not really meeting with the environment. So I think that's a very good question that he's asked there, and I like Tando's question as well as a number 2, because all of these questions are about how do I prepare myself for success in the future, because ComSA people should really be successful. You've got everything under your belt. You've got critical thinking skills you've been taught, and you have relevant knowledge as well. But you just have to have the right attitude and the right direction.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. Jillian, would you like to give us your thoughts?
I think I have to agree with Ben on his picks there. So was it Spesihle and Tando? So I'm happy with those 2.
Awesome. Thank you. So it is congratulations to Spesihle Jamile. I believe, is that the second prize he's getting? Okay, we'll have to watch the recording for that. Leena, we have another prize for you. That is Spesihle Jamile. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our Tech Talk. Very insightful and very practical, and such good news for my ears as an academic. Hearing that there's good news right on our doorstep. There's people that are keen to engage with our students. They're saying you don't have to be special. They are interested in your attitude. They want to empower you. They want to contribute to your well-being, and they want to make a difference. What a great company to be affiliated to. So I hope you took down the details there in terms of the contact details, and please do feel free to reach out to Contour and find out what opportunities they have. To our guests, thank you, Ben. Thank you, Jillian, not only for coming today, but coming again and giving our students prizes and giving our students bursaries and VAC work. Thank you very much. It is such a pleasure to partner with you on this exciting journey. Thank you, everyone. I wish you all a good afternoon.
Thanks so much.
And we've come to the end. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see our next Tech Talk that is on way. Good afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.